I must sentence you, Connor Chapman, not just for this very serious offence of murder, but also for the two offences of attempted murder, counts 2 and 3, two offences of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, counts 4 and 5, an assault occasioning actual bodily harm, count 6, and possessing firearm together with possessing ammunition, both with intent to endanger life, counts 7 and 8. I must also sentence you for an offence of handling stolen goods, which concerns the stolen Mercedes A-Class. For reasons that will become clear, I will pass concurrent sentences on all of these offences, but the seriousness of all your offending will be reflected in the sentence I impose on count 1, murder. The sentence for murder is imprisonment for life. I have to decide whether that should be a whole life or a minimum term which you'll have to serve. The difference is whether your offending is so exceptionally serious in the context of the gravest of murder offences that you should serve the whole of your life in custody rather than a very long term. Whilst I'm sure that there are some who would readily consider that a whole life term should be imposed, I have concluded that your offending is on the cusp between a whole life and a very long minimum term. And in the circumstances, I cannot conclude that a whole life term, as a sentence of last resort for the very gravest of murders, must be imposed. The starting point in fixing the minimum term, which is the period that you must serve in custody before you might seek to be released, is 30 years on count 1. I must increase that term, firstly to reflect the factors which increase its seriousness, and secondly to reflect the other offences, including 2 offences of attempted murder. I take into account also, to the limited extent that it provides any mitigation, your age. Accordingly, I increase the minimum term to firstly 36 years and secondly up to 48 years, which reflects your total offending. So that it's understood by you, Connor Chapman, as well as those who are observing. It means that you will have to serve 48 years in custody before you could apply for release. And if you're ever released, and considering your dangerousness, that might never happen, you will be on licence for the rest of your life and subject to recall to prison if you breach the terms of that licence. I must also impose the sentences to be served at the same time as your sentence on count 1. On counts 2 and 3 being for attempted murder, I'm satisfied that each of those offences require separate sentences of imprisonment for life under Section 285 of the Sentencing Act 2020. Therefore, a Schedule 19 offence, and you are a dangerous offender, given the circumstances of these attempted murder offences and the murder of Elle Edwards. They fall within Category A2 under the guideline with a starting point of 30 years, which I increase on each to 33 years to reflect the aggravating factors I have identified in count 1. There is little by way of mitigation. I must then fix a minimum term, which I set at 22 years. Accordingly, the sentences for counts 2 and 3 are concurrent sentences of imprisonment for life with a minimum term of 22 years. This means that you will have to serve 3 life sentences concurrently. On counts 4 and 5, Section 18 wounding with intent, they fall within Category A3 of the guideline. Adjusting the starting point to reflect aggravating and mitigating factors, I impose 7 years imprisonment concurrently. On count 6, Section 47 assault, which falls within Category A3, I impose 18 months concurrently. On count 7 and 8, offences of possessing a firearm and of possessing its ammunition, both being Category 1A offences under the guideline, I impose 15 years imprisonment concurrently with each other and all other sentences. Handling stolen goods, I impose 3 years imprisonment concurrently as a Category 2A offence. Connor Chapman, stand up. I sentence you as follows. On count 1 to imprisonment for life with a minimum term to serve in custody of 48 years, less 176 days served on remand. On counts 2 and 3, concurrent sentences of imprisonment for life under Section 285 of the Sentencing Act 2020 with a minimum term of 22 years. On counts 4 and 5, concurrent sentences of 7 years imprisonment. On count 6, a concurrent sentence of 18 months imprisonment. On count 7 and 8, a concurrent sentence of 15 years. And for the offence of handling stolen goods, a concurrent sentence of 3 years imprisonment. He can go down.